say that communism is the wave of the future, let them come to Berlin.
Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
We were forced to believe that a lone gunman assassinated former US President John F. Kennedy with only a single bullet. However, what we consider the truth might just be the tip of the iceberg, hiding a darker reality we have yet to discover. Could his death conceal an even more sinister agenda by those in power to manipulate, control, or obscure the true events of that fateful day? Dive in with us as we turn every page to uncover the true story behind Kennedy's assassination, unmask the alleged perpetrators, and unravel a mystery of a shadow government and international communist alliances that could dramatically shift the course of history. More than 6 decades ago, the streets lined up with spectators eager to catch a glimpse of President Kennedy and his wife, Jacqueline, as their limousine rolled by. The excitement was evident as Kennedy was supposed to speak at a luncheon in Trade Mart. However, the scene took a horrifying turn when a gunshot echoed near the Texas School Book Depository, causing immediate alarm among the crowd. In a matter of seconds, Kennedy slumped toward the First Lady, triggering more panic and fear. The car raced to Parkland Memorial Hospital, but despite their desperate efforts, the president's life was regrettably cut short that tragic day.
It's official. As of just a few moments ago, the President of the United States is dead.
According to official records, police immediately apprehended the suspect of this chilling tragedy. A lone gunman by the name of Lee Harvey Oswald. Intriguingly, Oswald had been hired by the Texas School Book Depository only a month before Kennedy visited Dallas, raising unsettling questions. Was it mere coincidence? Or could Oswald's placement have been part of a larger, orchestrated plan? While the government insisted Oswald acted alone, many believe his presence in that building was far too convenient to be accidental. But who exactly was this man? And what drove him to commit such a brazen act against the highest office of the United States? Lee Harvey Oswald was a high school dropout who joined the US Marines, where he was known as a competent sharpshooter. However, his pro-Soviet stand and politically radical views changed him, leading to his discharge from the Marines. And just 9 days later, Oswald made his way to the Soviet Union, where he unsuccessfully sought citizenship. In hindsight, anyone would be alarmed when he purchased a .38 revolver, a rifle, and a telescopic sight a year after returning to the United States. According to the Warren Commission, after failing to return to the USSR, Oswald returned to Dallas. He then secured a job at the Texas School Book Depository, the very place from which history would soon take a darker turn. When Oswald fired his rifle, the bullet didn't just strike President Kennedy, it also wounded Texas Governor John B. Connally. According to official records, after the shots were fired, Oswald fled the scene, but Patrolman J.D. Tippit eventually stopped him. However, in a cold, calculated act, Oswald shot and killed him before finally being arrested. Curiously, the true motive behind Oswald's involvement in Kennedy's assassination may forever remain a mystery, as just 2 days after his arrest, he was shot and killed, taking his secrets buried with him.
He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot.
According to official records, Oswald was executed by Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby. who was subsequently tried and found guilty of murder on March 14, 1964, receiving a death sentence. Tragically, before a new trial could occur 3 years later, Ruby passed away from a blood clot complicated by cancer, leaving more questions surrounding the case unanswered. Some believe that Kennedy's assassination was Oswald's act of retaliation against the United States, driven by his political and ideological beliefs. Some would even argue that Oswald's violent reaction to a figure like Kennedy may have resulted from a strong mix of anger, desperation, and a thirst for fame. However, intriguingly, Oswald claimed in a video footage that everything was a setup. He even distinctively announced he was a patsy, or in other terms, the fall guy.
I didn't shoot anybody, no sir. I'm just a patsy.
In contrast, Jack Ruby's motive for killing Oswald, based on his statements, was provoked by profound hatred and grief. He claimed he wanted to spare Jacqueline Kennedy the trauma of a trial and to seek vengeance for her husband's death. However, even his trial created speculations, especially when he revealed that the Warren Commission interrogated him for hours using a polygraph test. Yet curiously, they allegedly deleted the file.
They never released my results of my polygraph test. That was deleted from the Warren report. Why was that deleted? I don't know why.
With these uncertainties in play, many allegations and suspicions arose, particularly during a time when numerous conspiracy theories emerged surrounding Kennedy's life and death. Could there be powerful forces behind these events, manipulating the narrative to protect their interests, while Oswald and Ruby were merely puppets in a well-orchestrated scheme? Among all the conspiracies regarding JFK's assassination, the most prominent one was the magic bullet theory. According to sources, a single bullet known as CE-399 was said to have entered Kennedy's back, exited through his throat, and then struck Governor Connolly. Based on Warren Commission Junior Counsel Arlen Specter's belief, that same bullet injured the governor's lungs, wrist, and left thigh. However, a forensic pathologist, Dr. Cyril H. Wecht, thought the theory was outrageous.
Whatever you want, whatever you need, this bullet happily and readily obliges you. It is indeed a magic bullet.
According to critics, it's implausible for a single bullet to inflict severe injuries on two individuals simultaneously, especially when one of them is killed by it. Some question whether Oswald was really a skilled shooter to achieve such a death shot, or if the authorities were too lazy to investigate and just blamed it on a single person with questionable beliefs. A video recording revealed how then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover instantly accused Oswald of the murder and suspected nobody else despite hundreds of people in the vicinity.
There's no question but that he is the man. Now, the fingerprint things we have.
However, 10 months later, Hoover revealed to President Lyndon B. Johnson that 3 shots were fired on that tragic day, while still insisting that all were from Oswald's rifle.
How many shots were fired? 3. Any of them fired at me? No, there was all 3 at the president. All 3 at the president, and we have them.
Undoubtedly, the revelation of these bullets raised more questions than answers. Assassination researchers Josiah Thompson and Anthony Summers pointed out that the number of shots fired did not align with Oswald's ability to accurately fire 3 shots in such a brief time frame from that type of rifle. Additionally, Robert Groden expressed skepticism about the source of the shots, suggesting there were 24 suspected firing points at Dealey Plaza. Based on their research, they concluded that the shots fired at the motorcade originated from 3 distinct locations: the Texas School Book Depository, the Grassy Knoll, and the Records Building, sparking a more compelling theory of multiple gunmen targeting Kennedy. Another widely accepted narrative is the New Orleans theory, which many believe holds significant truth. According to New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, a hidden government exists within the US, a covert cabal that organized the assassination of Kennedy. He believed that ex-FBI agent Guy Bannister was involved with Oswald, pulling this speculation from the Cuba leaflets the latter was handing out, which contained the address of the Cuban Revolutionary Council. Whether by coincidence or not, that same building housed Bannister's office. The theory of Bannister's involvement grew more suspicious when witnesses claimed that he worked with a man named David Ferry under lawyer G. Ray Gill to help New Orleans mafia boss Carlos Marcello avoid being deported to Guatemala. Even more so, Bannister's former employee, Jack Martin, revealed that Ferry was supposed to be Oswald's getaway pilot. Despite Ferry denying his association, a photo of him and Oswald at the Civil Air Patrol surfaced, strengthening the allegations. Based on Garrison's findings, he alleged that Ferry and Bannister were involved with the CIA in a conspiracy to assassinate Kennedy. He believed the motive was rooted in anger over Kennedy's attempts to secure peace in Cuba and Vietnam, which threatened powerful interests. Garrison also suspected that New Orleans businessman Clay Shaw collaborated with the accused, but in a surprising turn, the judge found Shaw not guilty. The narrative takes a more diabolical turn when conspiracy buffs believed the CIA was highly involved in JFK's death. Before Kennedy's demise, some sources suggest he had a strained relationship with the CIA. Leading the agency at the time was Allen Dulles, who called the shots in overthrowing foreign leaders with near limitless authority. During those times, the CIA was believed to operate with significant autonomy, often disregarding restrictions to complete its missions. However, when Kennedy assumed the presidency, the agency allegedly lost their unchecked power, as the president believed in a more diplomatic approach. Apart from that, some sources believed that the CIA was enraged by President Kennedy's lack of support during the failed Bay of Pigs invasion, which aimed to overthrow Cuba's president, Fidel Castro. Even more so, JFK then dismissed Dulles from his position, an event that might have shaped plans to assassinate him. Allegations of the CIA's involvement in JFK's assassination gained more traction when Robert Kennedy Jr. publicly claimed that there was substantial evidence suggesting the agency was responsible for his uncle's death.
Well, I think there's overwhelming evidence and that the CIA was involved in this murder. I think it's beyond a reasonable doubt at this point.
Based on the interview, Robert Kennedy Jr. suggested that his uncle's assassination in November 1963 was tied to his refusal to send US forces to Vietnam. He explained that JFK was surrounded by a military-industrial complex and intelligence apparatus that relentlessly pushed for war in regions like Laos and Vietnam. However, Kennedy, believing that the American president's duty was to keep the nation out of conflict, stood firm in his refusal to engage in such wars. All allegations were firmly denied by the CIA, including the theory that Oswald used to work for them. However, according to investigator Gayton Fonzie, pressure was applied on investigators to avoid examining the connection between Oswald and the CIA. Fonzie claimed that CIA agent David Atlee Phillips had dealings with Oswald prior to the Kennedy assassination, particularly through interactions with anti-Castro Cuban groups. In addition to that, former U.S. Army intelligence officer John M. Newman allegedly unearthed chilling evidence that both the CIA and FBI had tampered with Lee Harvey Oswald's files before and after JFK's assassination. He also pointed out that CIA counterintelligence chief James Angleton was the mastermind given his access and authority to pull off a well-thought-out plan. Even more troubling, Newman believed this entire scheme was directed by Dulles, who also headed the Warren Commission, raising even more suspicions of a widespread cover-up.
The Warren Commission was run by Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA, who my uncle fired. It was a plot. It was a conspiracy. There were multiple people involved.
When author Annie Jacobson interviewed Dr. Albert Bud Whelan, the mayor of Area 51 and the first director of the Directorate of Science and Technology at the CIA, a liaison immediately cautioned her against probing into JFK's assassination. Intriguingly, JFK's death was unrelated to Jacobson's book, making the sudden warning all the more puzzling. Some sources also claimed that shortly after JFK's assassination, Dulles allegedly took the CIA's 5 top directors down to the basement for several hours, igniting speculation that those 5 men knew the truth about what had transpired that day. However, some can't shake the suspicion that the CIA didn't act alone. They argue that a shadow government was behind the entire scheme, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. According to Peter Dale Scott, Kennedy's assassination paved the way for the secret interests of a shadow government, leading to the US military's involvement in Vietnam. In Greg Polgrain's book, JFK versus Alan Dulles, he suggests that the Rockefeller family sought control over the gold-rich West Irian mines in Indonesia. However, Kennedy's strong friendship with Indonesian President Sukarno posed a significant obstacle to their plans. The plot thickens as Polgrain claims that Dulles, loyal to the Rockefellers after his time at Sullivan and Cromwell, played a key role in the conspiracy. Based on Polgrain's assumptions, Dulles facilitated Oswald's return to the US and secured his job, all while planning a coup in Indonesia with the help of military officer Suharto. The coup aimed to discredit the Communist Party, leading to widespread massacres and Suharto's rise to power. According to Polgrain, this allowed the Rockefellers to secure control of the mines with Suharto's pro-Western government's blessing. Intriguingly, Dulles's involvement in the assassination was also regarded by author David Talbot, as he believed the former CIA head worked for corporate leaders, who might also be conspirators in the death of Kennedy's brother 5 years later. Similarly, author James W. Douglas believed that Kennedy was killed because he sought peace with the Soviet Union, which went against the wishes of the CIA, military leaders, and the military-industrial complex. Adding to this perspective, former US Senator Ralph Yarborough stated that if Kennedy had lived, the Vietnam War likely wouldn't have happened. However, some skeptics speculate that the Secret Service could have been involved in JFK's assassination due to their failure to ensure his security. According to the findings of the House Select Committee on Assassinations, the Secret Service had information that was neither properly analyzed nor used concerning the president's trip. They also determined that the agents assigned were unprepared for potential sniper attacks. While some argue that the lack of security was Kennedy's choice, Vince Palermo challenges this. In his interview with JFK's limousine driver, Sam Kinney, he learned that the requests for reduced security did not allegedly come from the president. Alarmingly, concerns about the honesty of the Secret Service grew in the 1990s, when the Assassination Records Review Board sought access to Secret Service records. Based on their findings, they learned that in January 1995, the Secret Service had destroyed protective survey reports related to JFK's trips from September 24th to November 8th, 1963, raising serious questions about transparency and accountability surrounding the agency's actions during that critical time. However, some believe the former Cuban president, Fidel Castro, ordered JFK's murder. Based on an interview, President Lyndon B. Johnson told 2 newsmen that Castro might have planned the assassination to get back on the CIA's attempt to assassinate him. He also believed that Oswald never acted alone. Contradicting this view, French journalist Jean Daniel recalled that Castro was more anxious than pleased upon hearing of JFK's death. Daniel noted that the assassination was troubling for Castro because Kennedy was a man you could talk with, and he believed anyone else would be worse. But the shadow of doubt still lingered as ex-Marine and intelligence operative Jerry Hemming claimed that he was directly asked to assassinate Kennedy on numerous occasions. According to him, the majority of these conspirators were right-wingers, conservatives, and anti-communists who believed that the only way to resolve communism and Castro was to get rid of JFK.
Why don't we go to the root of the problem and eliminate the communists in Washington, the #1 man, JFK?
Even more alarmingly, based on Bill Bonanno's book, Bound by Honor, Mafia families had close ties with anti-Castro Cubans through Havana's pre-revolution casinos. Both groups disliked President Kennedy, blaming him for the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. According to the memoir, they also resented his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, for his crackdown on organized crime. Bonanno noted that when Jack Ruby killed Oswald, it confirmed the Mafia's involvement, as Ruby had ties to Chicago mobster Sam Giancana, arousing speculations that Ruby had different motives for killing Oswald. According to FBI informant Jack Van Lanningham, Carlos Marcello confessed to organizing JFK's assassination. The confession was reportedly captured by a bugged radio, but the FBI allegedly covered it up. Moreover, based on David Scheim's contract to America, Marcello worked with other prominent and powerful mobsters in organizing the crime, noting their frequent phone calls with Jack Ruby. While others strongly believe this theory, some prefer to put the blame on Zionists, implying that Kennedy's refusal and opposition to Israel's nuclear program led to the assassination. According to Michael Collins Piper's book, Final Judgment, The Missing Link in the JFK assassination controversy, the mastermind of Kennedy's murder was none other than Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion. Piper suggested that the plot involved high-level collaboration between the CIA, organized crime, and Israeli intelligence, with figures such as the mob accountant Meyer Lansky and the Anti-Defamation League. Oddly relevant, according to former Israeli nuclear technician Mordecai Vanunu, his fellowmen killed Kennedy because he pressured them about the Dimona nuclear reactor. Similarly, Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi said Kennedy was assassinated for wanting to investigate the reactor. Appallingly, the widespread belief in these conspiracies remains fueled by countless accusations of tampered evidence, witness intimidation, and deleted documents. With each new revelation, one is left to wonder, was the truth staring right at us long ago? Or are we still circling around what the people behind the assassination wanted us to believe? Click on the next video to uncover more secrets as we unravel the alleged origins of HIV/AIDS,